Yeah, the Brewers dropped that series in Chicago on to Kansas City. Hey, the Brewers have been down this road before, and they're going to bounce back. We'll get to that next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, that series started so positively with that amazing win on Friday, the 3-run eighth inning. Made a late charge on Saturday and lost. And then Sunday, 5-0 losers to the Cubs. Dropped 2 or 3. But still, hey, I'm not far from being down on these guys. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along here. Whether you follow us on Google, Spotify, Apple, we're on all the major downloads. And, of course, a growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. This show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Got to talk more about Monopoly Go. Fast-paced game. Let you team up with friends in tournaments to unlock awesome prizes, unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, hilarious emojis, taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go, free on Google Play or on the App Store. The game is on. And the game was on for the Brewers this weekend. And they did drop 2 or 3, as I mentioned, to the Cubs. Friday's game looked so good. I mean, they came out of the gates a little slow. And again, one of your typical Brewer games where, it's scoreless for a while and it looks like they're dead in the water. Cubs take a 1-0 lead. Brewers rally with 3 in the 8th and get the job done. And man, did that kick off the weekend on a good note. And then Saturday, the Brewers come back. They're down, get down 4-0, and made an amazing recovery to get back into that game, down 5-0. 4-run rally late, had ducks on the pond in the 9th inning, but they battled, man. And then Sunday was kind of a dud. Offensive struggles in this series. Runners in scoring position, they were 3 of 16. With runners on base, not runners in scoring position, runners on base, they were 3 of 16 on Sunday. And Freddy made the start. Peralta made the start. And he had guys on base. Worked out of it, though. See, sometimes, and I know this runs up the pitch count. You get guys on base, you get guys on, you're walking guys and all that. You don't have your command. It runs up your pitch count. And I get that. He battled through it. Finally, in the 5th inning, he was kind of living on the edge. And then Nico Horner comes up with a 2-run double. And that's pretty much it right there. Brewers weren't scoring anyway. But Peralta, he battled through that. He did, but walking too many guys, struggling, and did not have his command. So he will now he's dropping his appeal for his undeserved suspension that he got last week. Remember that where he threw at a guy and they suspended him for a couple of 5 days. He's going to drop the appeal, which means we might see somebody else come up through the ranks and pitch. We'll talk about that a little bit later on here on Locked On Brewers. But yeah, Peralta, the offensive struggles. Boy, it just amazes me how these guys will get into a game, and let's say if you're late to the party, turning on the game, you're working or whatever, and it's 0-0. Or at night or whatever, you get to the, turn on. Not everybody can watch the game from the very beginning. I get it. And life just gets in the way, as big a Brewer fans as we are. But you turn on the game and there it is, 0-0 in the 6th inning. Oh, I guess I didn't miss anything. They're an hour into the game and they've flown by and there's only 3 hits on the board. Sunday kind of took that pattern. Saturday, they didn't score until later in the game in the 4-run 7th, I want to say. And then, Friday, the 3-run 8th. So score, which they did so well early in the year, hitting with not only runners in the scoring position, but hitting with runners on base. 3 for 16 with runners on base. And I believe the stat was they batted 120 with runners on base this past weekend. That is not good. Assad, they made him better than he really is. He's not a bad pitcher, but sometimes the Brewers have a tendency to make guys better than, you all know that, make guys better than they really are. So they dropped 2 of 3. But, these guys are so resilient. The Brewers are so resilient. There's been a couple of times they've had a few 3-game winning streaks, 2 of them, and including last weekend, they got beat twice by the Yankees, came back Monday, lost to Tampa, and then won, 2 games there, 3 in a row, actually, after beating the Cubs. So these guys are resilient. They'll put it back together. They're in a first-place tie with the Cubs. So I feel like anytime Brewers Nation has panicked when they've gone into a little slide or dropped 2 or 3, they've bounced back. And this is just baseball. The Brewers are going to play the Cubs again. The Cubs have the upper hand now. I don't care. Yeah, it would have been great going in there winning 2 or 3, but it's a long season. We won't even remember this season when Greg comes to town next. We won't even remember this game when Greg comes to town next. So, or for a first time. So that's my take on it. I'm not real disappointed in this weekend. Again, typical Brewer losses, didn't score, but they battled Friday and Saturday. Not a lot of battle on Sunday, and Freddy just could not command the baseball. So we move on. But I want to get to Tyler Black here a little bit, talk a little bit about that. Oliver Dunn, I don't know, after an early great start. And I'll tell you who I want in the 4th spot in this lineup. All that coming up next year on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This show is brought to you in part by LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and I hope you are too. It's a great place to be, whatever business you're in. But LinkedIn Sales Solutions. Are you struggling to close deals? A lot of sales guys out there. You listen to this podcast, getting up bright and early and making sales calls. While you're making sales calls, because I hear from you guys, sales guys out there, selling is tougher than ever. And that's why I want to tell you about the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance, because that's what you want to do. You want to increase that performance, get that money in there. It looks better on a paycheck as well. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers and surface key signals, job stages, and which accounts you should prioritize. Also shows you hidden allies. You can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. So right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator. This is your tool for better savings. A 60-day free trial. Just try it out for 60 days. LinkedIn.com/locked-on. Again, LinkedIn.com/locked-on for a free 60-day trial. And let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar. Be the pride of your office. Be the pride of your block. Just go down to LinkedIn.com/locked-on and get started today. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are coming right back. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. 3 afternoon games for the Brewers this weekend. On to Kansas City to face the Royals. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit as well. The Royals, not bad. Still struggling at the box office, but they're playing above 500 baseball. Tyler Black been hitting in the 3-hole for his, and I get it, the lefty righty thing and all that. I understand that, but I don't know. It's a little too early in the season, a little too early in his career. One thing I've noticed that Brewer managers have a lot of confidence in guys early on, and there's nothing wrong with that. But man, Tyler Black just came up. He didn't even make the team out of spring training. We're putting the guy in the 3-hole against the Cubs in a huge series. Well, huge series of 2 first-place teams, the 2 top teams in the division battling. And we're putting Tyler Black in the 3-hole every game. And he struggled in this series. He got off to that 3 of 7 start, and he was 1 for 12, 4 Ks in the series. But man, I don't know if we could move that guy down in the order a little bit. And I get the lefty righty thing, but man alive, let's move him down in the order and take some pressure off him. Willy Adames batting cleanup. I don't have a heck of a lot of problem with that. Although I think Rhys Hoskins, man, I want to ride and die with Rhys Hoskins as my 4th place hitter in this lineup. Bryce Terang was batting fifth today, and I get that too because the guy gets on base. And I called for Sal Frelick to be in the leadoff spot, which he has been on a regular basis, and I'm cool with that. But if Terang, maybe Terang should be number 2 in the order, and then drop Contreras down to 3. Although Contreras is hitting so well, you hate to take him out of that 2 spot because you want that number 2 guy to deliver, and Contreras has. But Tyler Black, I don't know, hitting 211, and it's only a 1 weekend series. So I just thought that was a lot to put in a guy who he just called up on the roster, didn't make the opening day roster, and he's your 4th best prospect in the organization. I get it, but you put the pressure on the guy. You put him in a 3-hole right away. I don't know. Let's drop him down a little bit. Hoskins. I want Rhys Hoskins in my everyday lineup. I don't care if there's a lefty pitching, a righty pitching. I want him every day in the 4th spot in that lineup. I like Rhys, especially he's only batting 225, but I want Rhys in that everyday lineup, batting 4th. Well, he is in the everyday lineup, but I want him batting 4th, and he is going to heat up the summer. I think Rhys is on his way to 35 home runs this year. You watch, he's going to have a big summer. Oliver Dunn is struggling out there, and Pat Murphy was asked, boy, how come you're not running out Ortiz and you keep running out Dunn? They were giving Dunn a test this weekend, according to Murphy, to see whether or not they want to send him down or not, and get some at-bats down there. He's batting 233, scuffled again. He went 1 for 4, and that maybe they should send him down. He got that off to that great start. Remember, great start. So there's some thought maybe of sending him down a little bit. Blake Perkins is starting to cool off a little bit. 3 Ks on Sunday. Went 1 for 4. He's batting 266 right now. Some of these averages are dipping to where they were last year in the batting order, and some of the other analytical numbers as well. But some of the averages, you look at the bottom part of the order, Hoskins 225, Dunn 233, Perkins down to 266, and Churiel 219. Perkins had been hitting so well, though, and still playing above my expectations of him. But, just a bad weekend offensively. Contreras continues the rake. He was 1 for 3. I just like to see a little adjustment of the order. I'd like to see Adames bat 5th, and you put Hoskins in that 4th spot and let the big boy just go up there and take his hacks. Just my 2 cents on that. Oliver Dunn. Well, I'd like to see Ortiz play in his spot, and maybe we'll Monday night against Kansas City. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Wiemer goes on the injured list. We'll tell you who got called up. We'll talk about who might be pitching next weekend when the Cardinals are in town. One of the Brewer top prospects. We'll tell you about Monday night's matchup against the Royals. The first of 3 against Kansas City. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. I tell you about Monopoly Go. I love the game Monopoly. I love it. I love it. I love it as a kid. Love playing it as an adult. My 12-year-old even loves playing it. But he's not going to be able to play Monopoly Go like us adults can. Monopoly Go, you could team up with friends for time tournaments where you can work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. There's so much to get. Unique stickers you could trade with friends, complete albums, big prizes. It's just similar to the game that we grew up playing and love. Some of us enjoy playing as adults, Monopoly Go. Plus, Monopoly Go, it's an updated version. New, exciting every day, constantly changing tournaments and challenge, unique mini games, digging for treasures. There's so much more with the time events that can help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzy. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go to Monopoly Go now, try it on Google Play, the App Store. The game is on with Monopoly Go. Also, Yahoo Finance. Would it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire profile with confidence. It'll arrange everything for you and put it right there. You don't have to sift through a bunch of stuff. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio. That's what we all want to do. There's an end game to that. We want to all grow our portfolio and to deal with the rising cost of inflation, pay off your debt or whatever, mortgage or whatever. With Yahoo Finance, you can access the news, data, and tools you need to help you reach your financial freedom. And do this with Yahoo Finance. All the news is there. All the tools you need for comprehensive financial news and analysis. Visit the brand behind every great investor. Yahoo Finance has been there for years. Visit yahoofinance.com, your number one financial destination. Yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. And we're coming right back. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Wisconsin Broadcasters Association had their awards banquet this weekend, and your guy took first place at the sportscast category in the state of Wisconsin, media market. Appreciate that, and appreciate the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association for throwing on a great gala, and all my brothers in the broadcast, well, mostly all of the brothers in the broadcast business are cool. There's a couple of guys I'm not going to name right now. I'll do that on some other venue, but mostly everybody is great in Wisconsin. But just to see all these guys, some of these legends who've been around for years and all that, good guys, and I appreciate being honored with Sportscast of the Year in medium markets. All right, Joey Wiemer on the injured reserve list. Well, maybe you didn't. If you did, a Friday afternoon, going after a ball down the left field line, twisted his knee. Now, the good news is it's not an MCL, it's not an ACL, it's not a tear. The injury he had will keep him, from what I understand, it's the best, I think Adam McCalvey wrote this, the best possible outcome for a knee injury. He'll only have to miss 2 to 3 weeks, which is good. And Wiemer, obviously, I am one of these guys who, I'm not done with Wiemer at all. I'm not done with him, because I think there's still something there with Wiemer that can be not salvaged, but continue to grow. He's a young guy. I just think he needs to find his way with his batting stance and his hitch in the swing and all that. The Brewers had a player back in the day named Glenn Braggs, who I just felt had all sorts of athletic ability. Big, strong guy. Just never found that on a consistent basis. I think he did with the Reds a little bit, but I think Joey Wiemer, guy who could field, hasn't happened for Joey Wiemer, but I'm not counting him out just yet. There's too much athletic ability there. So Monasterio gets called up on the team, and Andrew played a big part in last year's team, and most likely just his future is probably as a utility guy in baseball, but a very good one. Very good one, but he hasn't been able to stay in the parent team. Robert Gasser probably making the start sometime over the weekend, one of the starts, because Freddy Peralta cannot go. He is going to be serving his suspension, but he's the fifth best prospect. Some people wanted Gasser to start the season on the roster. He's the fifth best prospect in the Brewers farm system. He got to start on Sunday at AAA, 78 pitches over 4 innings. They wanted to stretch him out a little bit, and they got 78 pitches out of him. He left with a lead, from what I understand. But Gasser was probably making a start next weekend against St. Louis. Again, you have no option at this point. Major League Baseball took Peralta away, so we'll see what Robert can do. But you got to be able to hit too. If today, Sunday, Peralta did not have the best outing, but if the Brewer bats would have rescued him, okay, we're not here complaining about Peralta walking so many guys. I'm not really complaining, but I'm just saying, sometimes the offense will bail out a not so good pitching performance. It was not the case on Sunday. But anyway, Wiemer goes to the IR. Gasser is probably pitching this weekend. Monasterio on the team. Christian Yelich did running in the outfield all 3 days this past weekend. He's been out since April 12th. It's almost been a month now that Yelich has not played. not played. It's been almost a month for Yelich. Bryce Wilson's going to make the start coming up on Monday. I like Bryce now in the starter's role, and they're facing Kansas City on the road. They got night games Monday and Tuesday, and then the traditional getaway game on Wednesday. And then the Cardinals are here Thursday through the weekend. But Bryce Wilson's going to start that first game. The Royals are 20-15. They got they're playing pretty well, playing some good baseball. At times they have problems offensively as well, but they got two studs. Salvatore Perez, that guy, Sal Perez is amazing. Big, strong, 6'3", 255 pounds at the plate. Can crush the ball. He's one of the best catchers in baseball. He is. God, what an exciting player. And when he hits it, it goes a long way. He's got 8 home runs on the year. But I always like watching him play. I love watching his bats, Sal Perez. They have Bobby Witt Jr. And they signed him to that long-term contract extension earlier in the year. He's batting .313. I think he's got 5 or 6 home runs or so. And he's going to be part of that future with the Royals. You know, Kansas City, just like us, small market team, trying to find their way, trying to extend contracts of players who are young, can't afford big-time free agents, hoping to keep the ones that they have, the young guys they have, and keep them from escaping. But the Royals, right now, they're only third. They are the third worst team in baseball as far as attendance. Third from the bottom in attendance. That's sorry to see because they're off to a good start. You know, they've gone through their share of lean years. We know they've won the World Series. They've gone through their share of lean years. They've always have been one of the proud franchises in baseball. But, you know, like a lot of small markets through 30 years, it's been mostly a struggle, except for the 2015s, that mid 2010s, I think they're called, when they, were a World Series contender. But they're in the American League West, and we'll see what the Brewers have in store. They have Bryce Wilson, and again, the Royals will not be an easy out this week. If they go there, take 2 or 3, come home on a 3-3 road trip with St. Louis coming up this weekend. And of course, the Brewers swept the Cardinals earlier this season at Busch Stadium. Hey, they dropped 2 or 3 this past week to the Cubs. Don't worry. The sky's not falling. I know some of you on Twitter were disappointed and all that, but hey, it happens. This team has bounced back from a little stutter step before, and there's no reason to think that they cannot do it again. And again, let's go to Kansas City, take 2 or 3, and come home and face St. Louis. Chuck Friedman here on Locked On Brewers. Again, you got our podcasts on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads up there. And wherever you see our podcast, once you get to it, let's say you're on YouTube and you want the audio version, well, hit the alert, whatever the alert is on any of the podcasts. Apple is the best place, the most used place people get our Locked On Brewers podcast. It's the platform that people use the most, but there's like 10, 15 of them out there. There's so many. There's platforms I have never even heard of before that our analytics show that have downloaded Locked On Brewers. We're all over the world. We've been downloaded all over the world, but please set the alert, subscribe. It's all free on any of those platforms. And of course, our growing YouTube audience, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And of course, appreciate all the banter I always get on Twitter. Chuck Friedman, Freimund. I read your comments. And of course, on YouTube, you can put your comments as well. I read them both. First thing I do when I get up in the morning, I grab my phone like we all do, and I see what you guys have to say about Locked On Brewers, see what we're talking about in Brewers baseball. Because what you're talking about, we're going to talk about. What the fans are talking about. This show is for the fans. Great support. And of course, we'll be out there, and I'll be out there next weekend covering those games, walking around when the Cardinals are in town. As always, please stop and say hi. Always love it. Thought about getting a Locked On Brewers license plate. Don't know if I'm going to go that far. We'll see. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, all you everydayers out there. Chuck Freeman. Good night, everybody.